welcome back.
Thank you.
To the museum, longtime founder and also a colleague of Stewart Luckman. So if you could, just to give us a feel for this fabulous arrangement that you've done, give us a little bit of background to Stewart, please.
Well, Stewart was born on the East Coast, but he grew up in Ethiopia. He was the son of a missionary family, and he went to school there until he was old enough that there wasn't any more education available when they sent him to Stony Brook, where he went to school.
Back in the States.
Yeah, back in the States. And then he got his bachelor's in political science, Bachelor of Arts in political science, and then finally a Bachelor of Fine Arts and an MFA in sculpture and in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
So he was well educated. He took a position at Bethel College that was his entire career was at Bethel.
Mm.
And he did a lot of very large steel sculpture because back in the 60s and 70s, that was the trend, to look at large public pieces, to create them with exciting flair and all of that, and he did that. And then he took a sabbatical, and he went to Italy, and he spent the time there in the Carrara quarries, and he brought two containers back to the States of Carrara marble, a statuary and a travertine container. And it rested there then until he was ready to carve. Mm-hmm. The seed for all of this was living in that environment of termite mounds in Ethiopia and how fascinating they were. Graceful, seemingly soft, exciting forms, but when you touched them, he found they felt like concrete. They have formed in these mounds the largest forms created by non-humans in the world. Some of them 40 feet tall, 80 feet wide. So they're enormous.
So we talked earlier, you and I, about the scientific background. Can you speak to that a little bit more?
Well, as years passed, and I'm going to say the last 20 years particularly, Stewart did a lot of research. He read everything he could on termites. There's been a lot more published recently because scientists have been doing termite research all around the world. Mm-hmm. And some of the things they're studying are the income of fresh oxygen and the outgoing of carbon dioxide for the termites who do not live in the mounds. They live in a nest or a little city about 3 feet below the ground. So the mound itself is just a ventilator. It takes care of the humidity in the rain, and in the dry season, it increases the humidity and provides the airflow to the insects below. They're doing CTs, CAT scans of termite mounds to see what the interior is like, to be able to study the airflow and to talk about more efficient ways of air conditioning in multi-family buildings and big office buildings. Can you imagine? And they're also using robotics to use the methods of constructions that the termites use, crawling all over each other with no queen. There is no queen termite. So they function with a different kind of stigmergy, which is kind of a mass intelligence, communicating how we don't know. That's all part of their research.
So given all this incredible background, scientific background, a viewer comes in, and how is it that should they relate that information to what they're seeing here?
I don't think they will, we have some material furnished here in the gallery that explains some of the scientific research. But I think if you ask Stewart, what is this? He would say, do you like it? That's all he would say. And then he would expect you to answer. You might have an opinion, and he would listen to that and might respond, but he will never share his private intention. He didn't talk about it. He would always say, do you like it? Because is it the form? It's the final form that he wants you to like or to have interest in. He was very strong with vertical compositions. Now, in terms of the book, this is an example of Stewart's insatiable curiosity and willing to read and study about everything. And in this case, he uses the book as an abstraction and a metaphor for study and learning, and they contain all that wisdom that we search for. It's all recorded in these books. In some of these books, they're quite abstract. His belief was that if based on reality, abstraction and metaphor both can be understood by all cultures. You might speak Athabascan, you might speak Spanish, you will both understand what a book is. The termite that are crawling in these books, some of them, not all of them, are the vehicle. That's just the vehicle for him to get to a book. The book is the most important form.
So you just told me that Stewart was really not going to give up anything. But did he have some kind of I don't know, what did he want people to take away from this exhibition?
I think he wanted people to look deeper than what meets the eye. He wanted you to see the form. If you recognized it was a book, fine. If you didn't, you just like the shape, that's fine. He took an image from the external world, the book, and he made it his own by putting the termites in it. That's how he personalized it. If you got that part of it, that's fine, but if you just like the shape, that was fine too.
Would you please talk to us just a little bit about the circle image that's hanging on the wall, and maybe speak to that a little bit and give us a little bit of ideas of what we're looking at?
Sure. The circle denotes eternity. It is reminiscent of the circular windows in the early Christian churches. And it also happens to represent the life ring, the nautical symbol for a life preserver. He was a man of very strong faith, and it's reinforced in his work throughout his whole career. Always concerned about compassion, his faith, about also the despair, the imbalance of power, especially when he became acquainted with that so deeply in Africa.
Then let's turn our attention to this piece on the floor here. And could you give us the name of that piece, this one here?
Oh, to my brothers and sisters of Soweto, Addis Ababa, and Cicero. This refers to something he witnessed, knew about in Africa. Mussolini came through there and tortured the people, killed some 15,000 people. What they did was put a tire over the head of a person, fill it with gasoline, and set it on fire. And that's how they killed them. And
is that right? I'm looking at the image here. And there is water in?
to represent the gasoline. Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. And then there's also, I see the remnants of actually charred human face, but then I also see a bar in the
Well, we're not
piece.
certain. We're not certain what it is. In many respects, it looks like a broken piece of furniture.
Mm.
In another sense, it can be some other kind of weapon.
Autonomous.
Yeah, a baton.
I see. Okay.
You're welcome.
Do you have anything more to say?
You've helped me cover it.